Hey, what's up YouTube? Donovan the Smartphone Guy here to do my comparison of the ZTE Blade V8 Pro, that's this guy, and the Honor 6X, that's this one right here. And I've had both on hand for a little over a week, and so I think it's time for me to do, finally, my comparison of the two devices and tell you which one I think might be the best device for you. Now, obviously, that is a decision that you have to make for yourself ultimately. But I can tell you what I like, what I dislike about each device, and just tell you kind of like in comparison which one might be best for you. Again, it's your decision though. So let's go ahead and I'm going to jump into first of all saying thank you. So I don't know if you guys can see that there. Hopefully you can. That is the number of subscribers that I have at the moment of making this video. And I actually just passed 2,000 last night. So I want to say thank you to everyone who's been a part of this channel. I really appreciate it. And so now let's go ahead and jump into the comparison. So first of all, let's talk about the processor. So this is the ZTE Blade V8 Pro. This has the Snapdragon 625 processor, which so far has been in my personal use just very, very snappy. Going from app to app is absolutely no problem. Now, is it going to load everything the fastest? It's not the Snapdragon 821, but I can tell you right now that it is a very fast device. And the Honor 6X is rocking the Kirin 655 processor, which honestly is no slouch at all either. So this one has 2.1 gigahertz, that's clocked at 2.1, and this one's clocked at 2.0. Both have 3 gigs of RAM, and honestly, from a performance perspective, I personally can't see a difference between the two devices. If you want to see me do a speed test, I might do that in another video, but for now I'm just going to tell you that both phones perform very, very well. And I don't think you'll be sad about the performance of either device. So the next thing I want to talk about is the build quality. And so this is one area that I think a lot of people have talked about, how the ZTE Blade V8 Pro has kind of this rubberized backing, and a lot of people say, well, it's just not as premium as the Honor 6X. And I can just kind of tell you that, like, from my perspective, it doesn't really matter. I mean, personally, I put cases on my phones anyways. And so for me, that's not really an issue that I care much about. I can say that this one is much more grippy. And so, like, if you're going to have a phone without a case, maybe the ZTE Blade V8 Pro, because it is pretty grippy. That rubberized backing feels really nice in the hand. Whereas the Honor 6X definitely is the more, I guess we'll call it premium feeling device because of that all metal build quality. And so, from a build perspective, personally, I mean, I think ultimately, if you want the sexier device, you're probably going to go with the Honor 6X. But if you want the more practical device, probably the ZTE Blade V8 Pro. So, that's a toss-up for me. I guess I'll give it just a slight edge to the Honor 6X just because it does look a little bit nicer. Ultimately, I have cases on mine, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Let's talk about the fingerprint sensor next. So this is kind of a matter of preference for you. So this one obviously has the rear firing, and I can tell you that it's extremely fast. Honestly, this is for real. I've had 0 times where this has not registered my fingerprint. So, I mean, that's in, heavy usage, and I just don't have any issues with the fingerprint sensor. So very fast. So again, it's just a matter of, like, do you prefer it on the back or do you prefer it on the front? So again, the same is true with the V8 Pro. It is very fast. The one thing I might give a slight complaint to, and this is just obviously another preference, for me, I'd rather not have to push the button down, because you have to in order to do that. Now, if I have it on the lock screen and then touch the fingerprint sensor, then you don't have to actually push it. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. It's a little too bright for my camera. There we go. So you can see a little bit better. But anyway, so yeah, either way, fingerprint sensors, it's really a matter of preference. Both are very accurate, very fast. It's just a matter of, do you prefer it on the front or do you prefer it on the back? Personally, I've gotten so accustomed to it being on the back that it took me a little while to get used to it being on the front again. So, I guess I give that maybe the slight edge to the Honor 6X, but, really it's kind of a draw. It's just a matter of preference, I think. Next, let's talk about the screen. So both have a 5.5-inch screen. Both are 1080p. Both are IPS LCD displays. And both, to me, are very nice looking screens, I should say. And let's go ahead and I'm going to jump into an app called Zedge just as a comparison. We'll look at two of the exact same pictures here, hopefully. And hopefully they bring up the exact same wallpaper. So let's see here, go to continue, wallpaper, and just so we can get like maybe a little bit of a comparison of what they might look like. Personally, this is just my opinion, obviously, and we'll get that right in there. But for me, I give the slight edge to the Blade V8 Pro. It's just a matter again of preference, which one you prefer. They both look very nice, but for me, the V8 Pro just looks a little bit better. It's hard to say why. Like, I can't tell you specifically why I like it better. For me, it just looks a little bit better. Not by much. It's not really a big deal, and probably definitely not one reason why you should buy one over the other, in my opinion. Next, let's talk about cameras. And this is an area that I would say maybe the two do differ. So on the Honor 6X, we have a 12 megapixel and 2 megapixel camera. On the Blade V8 Pro, we have dual 13 megapixel cameras. And so specs wise, you would give that edge to the Blade V8 Pro. So both of them have that bokeh effect, or that effect where you get kind of like that DSLR effect. And I will do a video where I give specifics about the pictures and the picture quality of both. And I've already done my 72-day video of the two. But I can say that personally, this is hands down a win to the Honor 6X. And the reason I say that is because the low light performance. And if you've had the Honor 8, you know that the Honor cameras just take good low light pictures. And that is again true. The Honor 6X for me, in terms of cameras, performs as well as many flagship phones. Whereas the Blade V8 Pro, very good camera still, but in low light, that's where you're going to start seeing where it's not quite as good. And I think the bokeh effect on both of them look very good. So we can go in here, and what it does with the bokeh effect is you're blurring out all of the background. So whatever you want the picture to focus on. So if I want it to focus here, I can pick that, and it blurs out everything around it. And it does a great job. Both phones do a great job of that. But for me, without a doubt, the Honor 6X takes the win in terms of camera, and that's for me undisputed. Not that the Blade V8 Pro takes bad pictures, it's just the low light camera of the Honor 6X is the hands down winner. So yeah, that's enough about the cameras. Let's jump. Oh, and I should mention also that for video quality, this takes a 4K video, whereas this only takes 1080p. But I can tell you from a YouTuber's perspective, I've been using the Honor 6X for nearly all of my videos. So if that tells you anything, the video quality at 1080p here is superb. It's great. The Honor 6X definitely, again, even in video, takes the win there. For battery life, okay, so this one, the Honor 6X, has a 3340 milliamp hour battery. The ZTE Blade V8 Pro has a 3140 milliamp hour battery. So on paper, specs wise, we definitely have to give the win to, well, the Honor 6X. But in real world usage, this phone right here, the Blade V8 Pro, definitely takes the win for battery life. And I say that because with this phone, if I can go into, let's see, I think it's in my gallery, I was getting through easily, let's go into here. Okay, well, I'm not going to bring it up, but I'm getting through a full day of usage with about 30%, maybe even 40% battery remaining, which, you can see this is a full day usage right here, and I'm at 44% at 1:12 a.m. So I did actually sleep in today, but so that's still, for me, that's phenomenal. Now, with the Honor 6X, it's a little unfair because I took this one off the charger at like 1 o'clock. So that's not a full day usage, but in general, in a regular full day of usage, I'm getting about 15 to 20% battery left over. Either way, both phones are all day batteries. But for sure, the Blade V8 Pro, despite having a smaller battery, for me, was the better battery phone. And that's in normal usage. I'm using them both pretty much the same amount, doing a lot of social media and doing even obviously some videoing with the two phones. And so yeah, definitely the win goes to the Blade V8 Pro in terms of battery life. And I guess in terms of hours on screen on time, for those of you that care about that, I'm saying about 6 hours here and about 5 hours with the Honor 6X. The next thing is the software. And again, the software, it's kind of a matter of preference for me. I tend to like the more stock feel. Obviously, you can see that I'm using Nova Launcher on both of them. So obviously, I switched out the software just a little bit on both of them. But for me, some people love this. Some people love that it has this notification shade and then the shortcut shade. And also, like, of course, you can edit the shortcuts, which, I made a fool of myself saying that you couldn't do that on this phone, but found out later that you can. But anyways, for me, the Honor 6X, Emotion UI, when it gets updated to 5.0 and gets Android Nougat, which, Honor has promised that it will, maybe then I might go with the Honor in terms of software. But this one's just a little heavier skinned. It's not as if it has a whole bunch of extra apps in there. It is still pretty stock in terms of like the bloatware that they give you, but the settings and everything like that. I will say this, the software is more customizable on the Honor 6X, but I still have to give the win to ZTE on this one, because this one definitely has a more stock Android feel. So if you like the little extra tweaks and software things that Honor is thrown into the 6X, then you probably give the win here. But for me personally, I like a more stock Android feel. Therefore, I have to give the win to ZTE in terms of software. Now, I want to talk about the negatives of each phone, because obviously neither of these phones are perfect. They're both mid-range phones. This one's $249 at regular price. This one's $229 at regular price. So what are you missing in the two phones? So let's first talk about the Blade V8 Pro. So the Blade V8 Pro, easily the biggest negative of this phone is the bottom firing speaker for me. The speaker is not loud. It just does not get all that loud. I mean, there's really nothing else to it. It's not the best speaker you're gonna find out there. And I don't know, like I was playing some music for my daughter earlier with this phone, so I don't even know if I want to. It's kind of embarrassing because it's like poppy girl music, but I'm not even gonna play it, so I'm not gonna jump into that. But anyways, needless to say, without a doubt, the Blade V8 Pro, it's not a terrible speaker, but it's definitely not good. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest negative. The other thing would be the low light camera. It's not a bad low light camera. It actually takes fairly decent low light pictures, but when you compare it to the Honor 6X, it just isn't as good. So that's a very low light picture there. And it does kind of default to night mode quite often, which, you'd kind of expect that. Okay, apparently I took a picture of my monitor there, and you can see me reflected off of that monitor. But yeah, low light pictures just aren't as good. Still good pictures in low light, just not as good as the Honor 6X. So those are the two, like, if there's reasons why you wouldn't want to pick this up, the speaker and maybe the low light camera. Now let's talk about the Honor 6X and the negatives here. So first of all, a couple glaring things. There's no NFC in this phone, whereas this phone has the NFC. For some people, that's not a big deal. You might not ever use NFC, but if you do, this doesn't have it. A second thing is no dual band Wi-Fi. So if you use 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, you don't get it with the Honor 6X. This only supports 2.4 gigahertz, so that could be a deal breaker for some people, so it's important to note that. The third thing, and this is maybe a minor thing for some people, but this is a micro USB charging port. And I should mention also, this has Quick Charge 2.0 without a doubt, and I already said that the battery win goes to the V8 Pro. This one has Quick Charge 2.0, and it definitely charges faster than the Honor 6X. I can get a full charge with this one in about an hour and a half, where with the Honor 6X, we're closer to 2 hours. It's still not a slow charging phone, but it's definitely not as fast as that one over there. But let's get back to the micro. So this one uses micro USB, so a little bit older standard, whereas obviously this one's using Type-C. So, obviously I prefer Type-C in this case because that's the newer standard. But the last thing is, again, with the Honor 6X, the bottom firing speaker is just not that loud. It's not, again, not terrible. But, and it's definitely, and if you're comparing the two, if I were to play both of them at the same time, and if you want to see a video about that, I can do that. But for now, just let me just tell you that if I'm putting these two side by side at the loudest volume, the Honor 6X is louder, but still not, it's still not on par with, like the Axon 7, obviously, but it's not on par with other, even the iPhone 7 that I'm videoing this on. It's not as loud as that. So that is, I would say, maybe the last negative of the Honor 6X. So in terms of my preference, which one do I like better? Well, I've got to tell you that which phone do I keep in my pocket? Well, it's the Blade V8 Pro. So this is the one I have, I have two SIMs, so you can see that obviously I have both phones have a SIM. But personally, which one do I keep my main SIM card in? It's the V8 Pro. Now, with that being said, as a YouTuber, could I live with just the V8 Pro? And the answer to that is, well, that would be really tough because the video quality on the V8 Pro just isn't as good as the Honor 6X. And so I've been using the Honor 6X for all of my videos. So it's a tough call. If camera is more important for you, I would go with the Honor 6X. Like if that's an important thing for you, I would probably choose the Honor 6X. If battery life and more stock feel to your Android experience is more important to you, and quick charging, things like that, and NFC and dual band Wi-Fi, if those things are more important to you, then the ZTE is probably the better phone for you. So in the end, here's my conclusion. Both phones are a fantastic value, and I don't think that you can go wrong with either phone, regardless of which one you decide to pick. I don't think you can really go wrong with either of these phones. Both are phenomenal phones. In the end, my preference, not by a lot, is the Blade V8 Pro. For you, that could be totally different. So I hope that in some way this video has been helpful for you. If it is, give it the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and help me get to 3,000 next. But I thank you all for watching. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.